Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Public Works meeting this August 19th meeting to order. We'll start with the clerk with roll call.
Alderman Rapella.
Here.
Alderman Nichols.
Here.
Alderman Eisenach.
Here.
Alderman Subnik.
Here.
Alderman Perkins.
Here.
Alderman Lewis.
Here.
Alderman Marshall.
Here.
Alderman Grady.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. First item on the agenda, is the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion? Oh, I do have public comments. Sorry. And I'm the one that, if you notice, this committee does allow for public comments, and I know there were a couple people that wanted to comment earlier about some of the recycling issues. So you also have 5 minutes if you want to come up to the mic, state your name and address, and you get 5 minutes. The mayor will be keeping track of the time. So if anyone would like to speak on any matter on the agenda at this moment, this is the time. And you push the button there.
Tim Jacobson, 732 Paris Street in Menasha again. I just wanted to finish up on some of the comments. You see the chart that I brought here from 45 years ago.
Where did you keep that?
I don't know why I got it. I was on a crew yet. But anyways, it was when the city was going from twice a week collection down to once a week for garbage, refuse. And the indicating how the second collection per ton actually costs more than the first, because your fixed costs are going to be the same and your tonnage will be less. So your cost per ton to collect it that second time is higher than the first one because there's less volume to spread that cost into. The thing about the fees, when I saw the sentence about having an annual resolution, because they might want to raise it as you carry on with this type of charging residents. I haven't met a politician, I kind of put a LOL by it, because I haven't met a politician that doesn't like raising fees, and because then they can campaign that they didn't raise taxes. And you see a lot of that in the towns. And that's how they always have in the newspaper about Menasha's taxes being higher than everybody else's, because they use a free fee structure for 50% of their operations. We do it correctly through the tax system, and it benefits everybody. It's an asset to everybody. But the fee system, to me, just isn't right. I don't know if Jen can clarify any of the questions I have about revolving account, enterprise type of account for all our solid waste collection activities. But that revenue is huge. And it would, I would guess, and I would like to see this maybe get tabled until we can process that revenue and put it in to the analysis as well, because you probably have enough revenue there to cover your costs of your additional collection. It's not that I don't want to see the additional collection, but I think that Public Works has to balance it out with your volume and your costs, and I have all the faith in the world that Thad and Travis can do that. Eventually, I think what the state of Wisconsin was hoping for is that there would come a time where there would be more recycling collection than refuse collection. I mean, that was the intent at the time. And if we're in the middle of that process, fine. I don't mind the extra collection, but balance the costs, no fee system, and look at the revenue that's being generated by Public Works and see if that can be injected into their operations instead of the general fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the gallery that want to speak on this? Come up to the mic and state your name and address for the clerk.
Hi, I'm Brandon Ketchum, 728 Arthur Street. So last year I got an extra recycling bin. It's pretty awesome for me because I love recycling. I clean it out, throw it in the recycling, I had to get another one because I choose to recycle. I literally go through everything and I recycle it. This year, you guys want to charge me $150 every 2 weeks, $300 a month, $1,800 a year to recycle. That's a lot of recycling money. I could just bring it to the dump myself. Why would I want to go through Menasha to collect my recycling when I can do it myself? Why would this even be an option? Why can't we factor it in the taxes? Like this guy said, that was awesome explaining. I don't even feel like I should be up here. He did a great job. I don't feel it's fair at all. And that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Again, state your name and address for the clerk. Thank you.
I got the decorum down now. My name is Antoine Tynes, 1840 North Ridge Court. It's funny because when I listened to it, I didn't do much research on this. I just saw the $75 and I was kind of hot about it. My thoughts are exactly what he expressed there. When the people of Menasha send people to the Common Council, even as a mayor, elected as a mayor, we're giving you a fiduciary responsibility to take care of us and our finances. Fees and excessive fees are really neglecting your fiduciary responsibility. If there's items in the budget, kind of like you mentioned, where you're generating some type of revenue to offset some of these fees, I can agree with that. But to just attach fees and associate fees. And then also this fee right here doesn't really, I would say, if I outweigh the balances, the pluses and minuses, a big minus for me is shutting down the refuge center where I can go drop my stuff off right now. So that would be a big negative. So I'll be paying $75, and then whenever they do the annual reassessment of it, I'll be paying that. And maybe they'll come twice. If you were to actually said, if you were to put this in the memo that this $75 would go for them to plow me out because I'm not on the artery, I'd be up here saying, okay, you could erase that if you like. But as far as me, as far as my own, I can only speak my own perspective and my own needs. I don't need a second pickup. I've learned to live with just one over the last 20 years. And to ask me to pay for something that I feel I don't need personally, I would be against it. So I'd just like to share once again, if we can find money and revenue, generating revenue and money within the budget to do this, and then that's fine. But if you're asking me to pay another fee for a service I feel I don't need, I don't agree with it.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Anyone else from the gallery? Seeing none, then we will move forward, as I tried to before, with the Special Board of Public Works minutes. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the Special Board of Public Works minutes for August 5th, 2024.
Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made by Alderman Rapella, second by Alderman Ted Grotti. Any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Those are approved. Moving on to payments. Is there a motion?
Thank you, Alderman Sevenick. I'll make a motion to pay for payment for Callan and Goss LLC, contract unit number 2024-06, utility and street construction for a cost of $233,530.47. This is payment number 2.
Is there a second? Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Did the deputy want to speak on this a little bit? Just mention, sure, just in a nutshell. Hopefully that's working.
Yep, there we go. This is just a progress payment for our current contract with Kellen and Goss. Kenwood Drive has been finished. Elizabeth Street has been finished. Lucerne has the binder layer of asphalt on it. And we are currently working on Whitman Park Lane, and they are also working on Neiman.
Okay, thank you. So the motion was made by Alderman Rapella, second by Alderman Perkins. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call.
Motion carries 8-4.
Thank you for that, Clerk. Moving on to item 2, which is a change order Alderman Repella, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion for the change order for Yankee General Contractors Incorporated, contract unit number 2024-08, Water Street Corridor Reconstruction, add of $16,251.24. This is change order number 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Grotti. Deputy Director, would you like to?
Yes, with this one, with some of the work with the Water Street project, I believe it's a 12-inch gas main that we were not aware of that crosses the river near the bridge tender's house, whatever it would be on that side. Because of that, we weren't able to drive sheet pile. They had to use sandbags more or less to coffer dam that off. And then also we had some alterations in how the wall was constructed in that area. So that's what this change order is for.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Roll call.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you, Clerk. Now we have another payment. Alderman Repella.
Thank you very much, Alderman Sevenick. I'll make a motion for payment for the Yankee General Contractors Incorporated, contract unit number 2024-08, Water Street Corridor Reconstruction at a cost of $391,939.53, and this is payment number 3.
Is there a second? Second by Alderman Marshall. You want to touch on that too?
Sure, I can kind of bring you
Thank
up to speed on this one. So again, Water Street, we're approximately maybe 2/3 of the way with the wall. They've started some of the storm sewer construction as part of that. The concrete patches have been put back in on Taco Street, so that kind of piggyback that portion of that project along with the closure for the traffic signals at River and Washington. So the far east end of that project is, they're going to start grading that and do a little bit more with the sidewalk and actually start grading for the road construction here in the next week or so.
So how far along do you think we are? Last time Laura said about 25%.
It's probably a little bit further than that, but we have a long ways to go with the actual road construction. Now that they're getting further along with the actual wall, they can have additional crews come in and start working back to the east and working west, basically following the wall construction. I anticipate the excavation for the road and the stone placement, that stuff to go fairly quick. Curb and gutter, there's maybe a week worth of work there, another week and a half, 2 weeks with other concrete flat work. So once they kind of get with the wall done and then they can start dedicating more time to the road with personnel, it should come together pretty fast.
Okay.
Still a long ways away, but
We did receive $2,074,000 from the state of Wisconsin, the governor, on this, and in that we need to be done by November. Is there some leeway that I thought I read somewhere that we're
yeah, I believe we talked a little bit about that at the workshop last week.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So we've talked with them about some of the landscape stuff, the tree plantings and stuff like that, that we're going to be doing with our own crews. They've kind of given us the okay to do that next year. But primarily the road and everything like that, they're asking us to close this contract out by the end of the year.
the reason I asked that question is that meeting wasn't televised, and I think that people want to be updated, and I know we have at least one person that lives on Water Street that's here today, so that I'm sure they want to know the progress.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal, is to complete the project this year.
When it's done, it's going to be a beautiful project. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call.
Motion carries 8-0.
Okay, the next item is a recycling fee proposal.
Okay, I'll make a motion for the...
You want to make the motion?
I want to vote it down.
Okay,
Oh,
go ahead.
I'll just bring it to their attention for the recycling.
For the
fee.
sake of discussion, you want to make the motion?
Yep, thank you
Okay.
very much, Dan. For sake of discussion, I'll make the motion for recycling fee proposal R32-24, a resolution to adopt a recyclable waste material collection and disposal charge, namely the recycling fee for the city of Menasha.
Motion's been made and seconded. And before anyone says anything, I wrote down things that people had said in the gallery. I want to make sure that their answers are brought forward. There was an earlier comment about how much Menasha charges. Currently, Menasha only charges $5 for a recycling fee, and it's been that for as long as I can remember.
And that is the cart fee.
That's the cart
To
fee.
replace the carts.
Right.
It's actually zero.
So,
Yeah. It's not the brown. Yeah.
collection revenues. So I agree with what the public is saying. I have a problem with the fee. It kind of reminds me of the stormwater utility. We have a stormwater utility that the fee that's charged for that pays for the salary of the attorney, for the public works director, it's everything else. It's just another way to create a big fund, and they're spent elsewhere. Someone said to me, well, who brought this forward? Why was so much work put into this? I certainly didn't. So that's a question I'm going to be asking. Who gave the direction that we want this? Because last budget time, we already increased our recycling pickup. And you basically are being picked up twice a month. And it's a much nicer schedule. And if you want to do like the gentleman did in the back, he's a recycler, he bought another cart. It's a one-time deal of $50.
56, yeah.
That's, to me, the solution, because we stopped picking up the stuff off the side for safety reasons for the guy on the truck. I understood that, and I have one in my neighborhood too, where someone with a larger family likes to recycle or has more recycling and bought another cart. So, I just really have, I probably shouldn't say this, but as chairman of this committee, I asked this not to be placed on the agenda, and it was. That disturbs me right there. So I want to know from staff, who gave you direction to put this program together?
I was asked by Director Youngworth to
Okay.
gather this information. I do not know who she.
Where she got it from?
Who she
Mayor,
got it
did you
from?
give that direction?
I did give that direction, yes.
You did?
Yes.
All right. Alderman Rappella, is your light on blinking because you want to say something?
Yes, it is.
Okay, there you go.
I guess I've been house confinement for the last 3 weeks, and so I've been able to contact, or at least as people walk by, I've been able to sit on my front porch, and I've at least 12 residents have voiced their displeasure with this, and I did, a person called me about something else, a street issue, and they thought it was a pretty good idea. And then I realized, I said, you realize that you get 18 pickups right now for free on the tax roll, and this would only give you 8 more pickups to get to 26. So we would be paying roughly $75 for 8 more pickups. And then when I told him, I said, Corey, you could actually buy another brown recycling bin for $56 from the city, and it's yours for eternity for the next 40, 50 years. And they will, and it's $56. Or do you choose to pay $75 every year? Over a 10-year period, that's $750. And he said, well, I'll pay $56 one time. 56 versus 750, that's a no-brainer. So I have yet to find anybody that would be acceptable to pay $75. Many of the people in my district, or at least on my street, are one individual or two or possibly three. And there's really no need for any more additional pickups. And if somebody does have extra things, they just find a neighbor and say, hey, can I throw it in your brown recycling bucket? And it works out really well. I do not need another 8 pickups. I'm fine with the 18 pickups that we have now. So are the other 12 residents that I spoke with. They're very adamant that that this should not pass tonight because of the added expense for something we don't need. So that's all I got to say for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Rapella. Alderman Ted Grady.
Thank you, Chair. All right. I'm going to go back to the memo from Director Youngworth. And I'm going to start with our finance director to explain the creativity of this, the reason behind this for helping with the tax levy and freeing up some other money somehow, and explain to them, or have her explain to us what the rationale was behind this program for the $75, how that was arrived, a couple steps to it. But if Director Sasman would like to speak about that portion of it as to how, I think last year's budget, we couldn't even spend like $100, or I forget how low it was. $600 for the levy stuff. So this is kind of a way of helping some of that, but I'll let her explain.
Go ahead, Director.
So although the concept of biweekly recycling, isn't new, it's definitely been brought up before. The new part about it, so it's really twofold, is the recycling fee that we'd be imposing. As we've started our budget conversations, we recognize that we're really up against another tough year. Seems to be year after year. I'm predicting that the state will allow us to increase our levy about $200,000. That's not a lot. And the recycling levy is one of our levy funds, which is approximately about $300,000 a year. One of the tools that we have as a city is to impose a fee and remove the recycling levy from our overall tax levy. So again, just the tool that we have that would allow us to, assist in putting together our budget. One of the things that we talked about is not only, proposing this fee, but also proposing something that there have been a number of residents that have asked for, and that's the biweekly recycling, that we could hopefully still provide something to a number of residents that they have been looking for. So that's kind of how, it started as we started our budget conversations, that this is an avenue that we can take to remove the recycling budget completely off of the levy, regardless if we would offer biweekly recycling or not.
I also want to add, I didn't do as good a job as Randy, but I did talk to 9 homes in my neighborhood, and not one was in favor of it. And for the same arguments we heard in the gallery. Alderman Ted Crowdy, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So based on this $75 fee, one part of it was, maybe this is a question for Thad Brown, our Deputy Director of Municipality Operations, is I think there's Jennifer talked about the $300,000 on the levy. And that, it's based on, I think there's, based on Laura's memo, there's 6,600 bins out there that we charge for. And if you divide that 300,000 divided by the 6,611, you come up with $47. This is $75. So I think there's an added cost. Thad, can you explain that added piece?
So the added piece for this recycling collection pickup would be adding an additional employee and a second garbage truck for recycling. And this would be to be able to double pick on all holidays and all the holidays. This also has the equipment usage fund in it, which is our vehicle equipment fund, which is actually charged out per hour, per mile. And that's how we replace our equipment. We don't have to come to you guys for the CIP to borrow money for equipment. We have an equipment fund that we're earning that money for the jobs that are being done to replace that equipment. So I believe that was one of the questions that we had in the audience.
Yep.
Right. So that amount, just so the audience knows, is $185,000 being added on. That's the employee and the truck. So that's another, my math here must be,
185,520.
yeah, but divided by the 66, $28. So that's the other $28 added onto the 40. That gets you up to your 75. So if this would evolve or pass or move forward, we would then close all recycling at the garage. So there'd be no oil drop off or any type of recycling out there.
As the director
being
stated in the
proposed.
memo, that would be handled by Winnebago and Outagamie County landfills that they would be bringing that collection to.
The only concern I have too is with, I think the gentleman in the back stated something about he recycles a lot. And there are some big boxes sometimes that we do have, and I like the idea that we can take the big boxes and cardboard out to the garage. And I think, I don't know if there's gonna be enough space in these bins to hold all that stuff, and you gotta cut it down or whatever, but that might be an issue. I do understand the thinking outside the box by our finance and our to-be ex-director of Public Works, Laura, of thinking of how to get some extra revenue for the city, and that money can be used for other things down the road. But this is a good topic for debate and issues, but just so people know that it's just not, hey, I'm just paying $75 for what? Okay, well, you're getting a bin, or you're getting another pickup, but you're also helping the city with some other levy issues. But I'll just leave it at that for now, Chair, and let you ask any other questions.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Rappel again?
Thank you very much, Alderman Sevenick. Jennifer, this goes back to at least a couple years ago, and I still can pinpoint those individuals, and now they actually live over in District 6, or District 7, Alderman Marshall's district, and 6, okay. That's right, it's a, yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Their point was they were expecting every other week pickup without no pay increase. They said, we pay enough for taxes. Can't we have twice a month pickup? And they wanted it for free. Now, once they were told that it was $75, they're going, I don't need it for $75. I'll buy a $56 extra brown recycling bin, and my problem is solved. So they did not, they don't want to pay $75 per year for something they could buy for $56 for a one-time cost. And that's a lot of money if you go even over 20 years. $75 over 20 years. $15,000 you're going to be paying, or I should say $1,500 you're going to be paying for over a 10-year period. So it's a lot of money compared to $56. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Anyone else? Let's see, who's blinking? Your thing is on, but it's not. You might have to do that. Yeah, Alderman Eisenach, but.
Thank you.
Lewis,
So my personal experience, I own a couple businesses. I order a lot of stuff online because I don't have time to go to the store and buy things. The on-site drop-off is very nice for us because I don't put my cardboard in my bin, which allows me to keep my bin from overflowing, and then I don't need the additional pickup for myself. That's my personal experience. I did my own social media post, and I also followed another social media post where there was 60-some comments on one and 30-some comments on another, and out of all of those, I only saw maybe 2 or 3 people really say that they want to change the recycling schedule. Other people were very against it. So I just wanted to put that out there. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Lewis.
So I would just like to say that I love having our recycling system. I think recycling is great. We take advantage of it all the time. But personally, I would definitely like to have more recycling pickups. But again, I think that the people have made themselves clear that we may want to look into this a little bit further, a little more than just we're going to go ahead and change several things all at once tonight. I think it would be a good idea to potentially postpone this and look into it further.
Okay. Thank you. Oops. I'll get it for you. There you go. I believe Alderman Grotti's next.
Thank you, Chair. My other question, I think Alderman Rapella brought it up too, about the extra recycle bin. I guess, I don't know if that's true. I never see 2 brown recycle bins in anybody's driveway. I know you can buy a larger blue waste bin, but...
The guy in the back has one.
So you guys approved this about a year ago.
We did.
We were able to sell an extra recycling can for our cost to the resident, which would be their can then, and we would dump it for free.
And I have one in my neighborhood
Okay.
too.
Thanks for clarifying that.
And another clarification on that for the gentleman that has an extra cart and is a single resident. I just got to make sure that he's a single resident. This isn't a duplex or a multifamily. If he did purchase that cart as an extra recycling cart, he would not be billed twice for that $75. It was a 1-can fee. So it wouldn't be a double fee.
Alderman
It would be a
Nichols.
single fee.
Thank you, Chair. There was mention of revenues that offset recycling costs, and there is a small reference to them in our memo. So what's estimated in our memo is the cost of recycling after consideration of revenue sources. So Director Sassman, can you please review what those revenue sources are and an estimate of how much they are?
Certainly. So the current recycling budget that is net of the revenues at $312,600. In the recycling fund, we do have a state grant. And then we also have a recycling rebate from Winnebago County as well. In those. I know one thing that was referenced earlier was different funds.
Did you want to talk?
And our levy is made up of our general fund, our recycling fund, and our debt service fund. Revenues in other funds are referred to, one being the city garage. The city garage is set up as an internal service fund that it gets its revenues from basically all other city departments. So all funds are set up a little bit different. So in this case, we really can just offset that recycling budget with the actual recycling revenues. And again, it's a state grant and then basically a county rebate.
Do you know how much each of those are?
The state grant, 70,000, and then about 6,000 from the county. And currently, we do, have the recycling cart fee totaling the 35,000 in the general fund, as well, but then this proposed fee would have that wrapped up in that, so there would not be that separate recycling cart fee going forward.
So outside of levy dollars, we have $76,000 that comes in the form of grants and rebates that help fund the recycling program. And the rest of the recycling budget is essentially funded with levy dollars.
Correct.
So what remains, that portion of levy dollars is the $312,600.
Yes.
Okay. And then the proposal is to add $185,520 to that, which covers the new truck, an additional employee, and the usage of the equipment.
Yes.
For a grand total of just under $500,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Anything further, Alderman Nichols?
The drop-off site. There's been lots of conversation about the drop-off site. We've really stressed to our residents over the years the importance of using the drop-off site. And Deputy Director Brown and I had a conversation today. First, I want to thank you for your patience, walking me through all of the information that's before us. And we did have a conversation about the drop-off site as well. And if you don't mind, I would like you, Director Brown, to share your thoughts on the future of the drop-off site. What were the conversations like in coming to that recommendation to close it? And what are your thoughts about that going forward?
That was one of our main concerns, was closing that site. And my main concern on it was holidays. So you have Christmas and you're getting a lot of gifts, and now that you're purchasing a lot of stuff online and you're getting more boxes, that was a huge part of this, and discussing it, talking about it. With the discussion and talking, it came to that they were putting everything into the carts and being dumped twice a week would be able to suffice what they had. We did mention, do we do special recycling drop-off for cardboard during holidays and stuff like that to be able to assist the residents. Another reason for this is not just to shut it down and be done with it. We've had, council's brought it to our attention a few times and had us look into it. This was where our license plate readers came from, cameras and everything getting into our recycling facility, because we believe there's a lot of non-residents getting in there. So this is kind of everything that we've ever been brought to our attention, everything kind of sandwiched into this one memo to try to help out and solve a lot of the issues that we are having. Us as staff, we don't take this lightly, putting a fee onto a tax bill. Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, but if this doesn't happen this way, we're going to have to find another way to drop this 300 and some thousand?
Yeah, like I said, as we've entered into budget conversations, we just know that it's going to be a tough budget again. And when we talked about bringing forward this potential fee, there was the talk of what could residents also get for this? And then the biweekly recycling was brought up. But like I said, the recycling levy is about $300,000 every year. So should that stay on the levy, we will definitely have to find different creative ways to make the budget work. This year, we do know that, just a side note, our debt service levy is part of our overall tax levy. That alone is going up $250,000 for our, basically, taking into consideration our paying for our 2023 projects. So we know that right now. So just looking for ways that we can possibly get dollars off of the tax levy to be able to make our budget balance.
I have another question about the drop-off site, and actually what transitioning to this new program looks like, because we know how difficult it is to get trucks, and we know that we already have one budgeted for 2025 based on our CIP presentation from last week. And this moving to biweekly would create the need for another truck. And we're not sure when we will receive delivery of those trucks. And in the meantime, it would be important to have I believe it would be important to have at minimum, a transition period if this drop site closure were to happen. And so what are your thoughts on flexibility as we possibly implement a new strategy here?
So we would have a few options that we've been thinking about here. We obviously have one truck coming, our sanitation truck, that we'll be ordering here coming up for our sanitation department. That's not including this truck here that's coming out of our equipment fund. We could switch that truck to getting a demo unit or something like that. They have them, all the bells and whistles on them, but then they try to sell them at the end of their, their life cycle for their shows and stuff like that. You're not really getting a deal on them, but you're not paying for the bells and whistles. So if we can get lucky enough to grab one of them, we might not have the same color that we would want to get, or the fleet should be. I mean, we already have a few different vehicles because of scenarios like this that we've ran into. The option would be to try to get a demo truck. During that time we get the demo truck, we can keep the older sanitation truck we have and utilize that for the recycling end of it until we're able to get the recycling truck on site. If that didn't work out, there are rentals available. We would not prefer to go that way. I believe renting something is you're just giving money away and you're not getting anything for it, so we want to stay as far away from that as we can. But that is an option if it came down to it.
Okay, and what is the cost of operating the drop-off site?
So there was
Sorry, I just caught you off guard with that because we didn't talk
We
about
did,
that
because me and
today.
Tori just talked about that, and it's really hard to give you a number on what it costs to operate, because since we went to commingle and everything's going into our trucks with our front load trucks now, we don't have it separated anymore. So it's all going in as residential recycling that we're grabbing from the drop-off site to a residential. So we don't have that number like we used to be able to have when we had everything going and the truck would bring it down. So now it goes into our front load trucks. We lost the truck going down to the landfill, saved some money, but now we don't have that information of what that tonnage is or what we have out there right now for that. We have our cardboard that's out that we have. I mean, we can give you that, and I can look up to see what the guys' labor times that we have at that site is. But I would have to get back to you on that to give you an accurate number.
Okay. Was that talked about at all in coming up with this proposal, other than simply closing it?
Just that we've had, two guys, depending on, when it is, obviously if it's Christmas or everything like that, with us hauling cardboard containers and stuff like that. They're commingled containers, getting them into trucks, loading them up, cleaning it up. I mean, we could have anywhere from 4 hours on busy holidays cleaning that recycling center to having an hour with one guy. So it fluctuates that much. That's why I'd have to look into the times that we have recorded for the position that was there doing it.
Okay, but the bottom line is if the site were to close, then folks would need to take their extra recycling to either Brown County,
Allegheny County or Winnebago County?
Winnebago County or Allegheny County Recycling Center during their hours of operation.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question for the city attorney. Since this item has to do with the recycling fee proposal, I know that the current practice and ordinances allow for each dwelling unit to have a cart associated with it. And each property is charged accordingly for their carts. because it's attached to their level of service. I am unclear about whether or not that practice continues based on what I've read in the following ordinances attached to this proposal. So can you help me understand if that practice continues and where it is outlined in the ordinances?
So are you asking what is the intent? Is the intent to charge the owner or the property depending on the amount of pickups? And I guess currently, what is the practice at multifamily residences?
We're also doing it. So I believe the question that she has is where is it in the ordinance stating that the recycling is charged to a single-family home, to a multifamily home? And looking in the recycling ordinance doesn't really specify that it's charged to that address or that tax bill.
If there's 2 dwellings on a property, do they get charged $150 under the new proposal, or do they get charged $75? Because it's part of the property tax bill, so you get one line.
So they get a spreadsheet from us with our carts on it for their tax bills, which go to Jennifer. They double check and look off of that, and they get which addresses have multifamily to single family to multifamily.
Yep.
That's how they say what's going on there. So we have that all recorded in our spreadsheets and our files.
So basically, if it's a duplex, it's $150.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay.
What I'm unsure of is if that is stated in the ordinance, or if that property, which has 2 dwelling units, would simply be charged $75.35. I can't discern where it's spelled out in the ordinance how exactly the charge would work. And since the item on the table has to do with the fee proposal, I need to know that information.
Let's not forget the 35 cents, too.
I mentioned it.
So originally, I thought that you were talking per cart.
Yes, all of our conversation deals with per cart, and that's how it's being presented. But when it comes to the property tax bill, and as it's presented in the ordinances, I don't see a reference per cart. I just see property for each property parcel. And so
If it is just property, then it would be the one. If it's per cart, it would be based on each cart.
As the ordinance states, it's upon all real property. And I think if council were to consider this further, the 8-3-10, which would have been proposed ordinance O-10-24, that did contemplate additional residential dwelling units.
it did, but that also rescinded, it struck the recycling component and it simply deals with refuse.
So if the intent is from the Department of Public Works and Finance to have those multi-residential properties, duplex for instance, to have 2 versus 1 fee, that would need to be spelled out in the ordinance or kept, O-10-24. Council could choose to not modify that language.
Okay. Having heard everything I've heard this evening, Chair, I'd like to make a motion, and that is to,
There is a motion on the floor. You want to
Yes.
add an amendment?
no, I would like to postpone this discussion so that we can find more information and make the best informed decision.
I'd rather vote on it. I just want to vote up or down if we're going to do this. I don't want staff doing all kinds of work if we're not going to do this. So if you could just hold your postponement for the time being, because Corey had something yet too.
Okay.
And I think the mayor wanted to say something. So go ahead, Corey.
Just a comment to Alderman Nichols, and kind of piggybacking with you, Alderman Sevnik. I guess, we would like to see this move forward today. It's also going to go to the council.
For
If
budget.
there's additional information, considering some of this, we can bring that information and clarify some
To
of
the
that
next meeting.
information at the next meeting. And, I guess ultimately, whether you vote this up or you vote this down, it still goes to common council in 2 weeks.
Yeah, on September 3rd or 4th, whatever it is.
So, just to put that out there that, we can bring additional information.
Okay. Mayor.
Thank you, Chair.
Oops, I turned you off instead of on.
That's okay. Thank you, Chairman Sevnik, Common Council. I know that this is a tough topic, and I know that anytime there's a discussion about imposing a fee or increasing a tax, it's a hard discussion because we need to look out for the residents in our community and make sure we're doing what is in their best interest. And as we started diving into discussions, first with CIP and general budget, we were looking at different options for how to bring in revenue to address some of the issues we're facing with our budget. And, for the city of Menasha, there's definitely been some financial hardship throughout our history. And then in the state of Wisconsin with the tax levy limits, it really puts municipalities in a really awkward position. So how can we work within to meet our means to be able to service our residents to the best of their ability? And this is something that has been brought forward in discussion, maybe not this far into the process, but in years past, and I know Director of Public Work and former mayor, who both aren't in the room, I know have had discussions in past with staff about ways to implement biweekly recycling or to get this off of the levy. And the reason for bringing it forward for you today is looking for ways that we can address our financial situation and how to be economically responsible as a city, and look at things that other communities around us are doing that we are not pursuing as well. So I just want to acknowledge that I know this is a tough discussion, and I appreciate all of you engaging in it, and I know this is something that has been looked at and researched in the past, but this is something a lot of other communities are doing too, to get that fee off of the levy and make it self-sustaining, where the money being put towards it keeps it going, along with the added benefit of adding a truck and an employee to run it. So I just wanted to include that part in the discussion, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak in this committee, so thank you.
All right. Well, I don't think it's in the best interest of the city. I think keeping spending down is in the best interest of the city. I think when I voted against the huge salary increases up to more than 7%, in some cases 8%, was in the best interest of the city. We need to watch how we spend the dollars. That's why we were elected. That's why I feel I'm up here, is to always look out for the taxpayer. I understand what you're trying to do, but sometimes we can't have the absolute best of everything in services. I think last time around, we added additional collections so that you had it at least twice a month. And I could live with that, and I compromise, but that's still not good enough. What's coming next? Every week? I don't want that either. So we need to stop the bleed. This is happening everywhere. And that's why the economy is getting tough for a lot of people, and we got to look out for them too. And like the other day when I voted against that increase on the sewer user charge, it was because these are funds that keep adding up, and they're put into other places that even us sometimes don't realize where they're going. So I'm not in favor of this. There may have been some promises that, oh yes, I'll make sure you get twice a week pickup. We've had options. That's something different that we didn't have in other communities. We had the drop-off site. People love that drop-off site. If it's a hardship that we have someone working out there a little bit, cleaning it up, great, because it's what Menasha likes and what they want. I think they want that more than they want more pickups. And part of the problem too is keep your calendar when you get it. I can't tell you, people just put their carts out every week. Maybe it'll get picked up. You know, that's embarrassing. I went through an area of my neighborhood that was doing that, and I made them a copy so they would know when their collection is. And it wasn't more than 2 months later, they were back to the same old thing. So I appreciate people that recycle. By the way, Menasha does one of the best jobs in the area for what we do as far as how much we collect. We do a great job here in Menasha. I think what we have is very good already, and I don't want to increase fees or taxes, so I'm not going to be in favor of this change. Alderman Nichols.
Nichols, you mind if I say something?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead, go ahead.
He's the chair, so I defer.
So you know me, Stan. I voiced my opinion, and I think very strongly of the staff that we have here and our crew.
We all do.
As you just stated, and trying to save money and to do things. I just want to bring it forward to the residents' attention on what staff actually does to do this. We have 4 examples that we can bring up from 2023. One is with the DPW parks and the police department remodeling their building. That came to $100 and some thousand. We did it for way under half. And that's with the police department and DPW and parks working together. This year, we took on the remodeling of the fire department. That was over $130,000 that we had brought to our attention, and we came in and did the entire job for $42,000. And we are asking for another $22,000 to remodel the entire fire department. That is huge savings. Right now, we are actually on remodeling the Jefferson Park Pavilion, which has just been finished. Now moving on to the social space, which if you guys go down to Jefferson Park and see all the concrete that is poured with the fire pits and the stage. Next week, you will be seeing the stage being put up. That pavilion remodel was $440,000. We have $120,000 into material, maybe $60,000 into labor, $180,000 for a $440,000 project. The social space, I don't remember off the top of my head what it was. It's around $400,000. If we have $120,000 into $100,000 into that, when we're all said and done in material, that's what us as staff brings to the city of Menasha. I'm born and raised city of Menasha. I bleed blue. You know that. We take this very hard when we get fees and have to bring this to council for you guys to make the decision. So don't think that we take this lightly at all.
Don't.
Us as staff, we do everything we possibly can for the city. And I just want to make sure that that's out there and that residents actually know.
And I think the residents
commitment
do,
that we have to
whether
the city.
it's the collections, whether it's the plowing, I hear it all the time. No one does a better job. You can cross Nicollet Boulevard and you know you've just left Menasha. So things like that. We understand that. I know when Tim was in charge down there, they were always thinking of different ways of doing things too. Menasha has always had to do that. And yeah, maybe you haven't been given the credit you deserve. You do. But this is a total different issue. Well, and it should be there. It should be there, because I know the police department certainly appreciated what you did. But that's not the issue today. The issue is the $75, asking the people of Menasha if this is an additional service that some people want that others mostly don't, and whether they should pick up that cost. And I don't think that we should be doing that. Alderman Nichols, thanks for your patience.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now you just took my train of
Lost your
thought
train
from
of
me. I did, but this would remove $312,600 from the levy. So I'm going to turn this upside down and ask the mayor, what's the plan for that money that would be coming off the levy?
Chairman, may I?
Sure.
Okay. I mean, I know one thing, Director Sassman, looking at you just to make sure I say this correctly or don't misquote, but $250,000 is roughly what we're going to be over because of spending thus far. So at some point to try to make things right there. And then I think there's a lot of needs within the community and conversations we're having as staff and as city to meet needs of things that need to get accomplished, whether it's random things like municipal courts and making sure we're paying for that, or a lively discussion that's been had for numerous months within our community about our police force and things of that nature. So there is not some pinpoint specific thing, rather making sure we're being economically feasible with our finances, like what we're going to be over, and then looking at other opportunities. And Director Sassman, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to fill, if Chairman Sevenik will allow, but those are the discussions, Alderman Nichols, that we have been having.
Sure, I'll just add, like I said, I believe right now the state will allow us to increase our levy by about $200,000. I know for sure that our debt service levy is going to be $250,000 higher than last year. So that's a big change. You know, I'm anticipating about that $200,000. We are able to use the option to increase our levy because we have a joint fire department. So we can use that as well. Last year, I think we had added $150,000. Like I said, still when you look at the debt service levy, that pretty much washes that out. And that's without even just trying to balance our budget with just general price increases that we're facing currently. Right now, we're in the middle of police union negotiations, you know, things like that, you know, we're going to have to take all of that into consideration with our budget. So one thing I would, you know, urge council to consider, I mean, although we were hoping to propose biweekly recycling, I would urge council to consider still looking at the recycling budget as it stands and removing that from the levy and still imposing that special charge to free up that approximate $300,000.
Just more spending. Alderman Nichols?
Again, you brought that up, and I'm sitting here thinking that's something that I'm interested in seeing what that looks like as we move forward. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Eisenach.
Thank you. I know you keep saying that the budget's really tight and close. Now, there's a lot of people, especially in my district. I have a lot of lower income people in my district. This $75 could make or break them. Their landlords will probably raise their rent over it. You know, there's people living paycheck to paycheck and can't afford to feed themselves. So this could really, really hurt a lot of people in Menasha. So I know it's only $75, but overall, it's really tight for a lot of people. So I am not for this for my district. So thank you.
Anything further? Seeing none, we'll take it.
One thing, sorry. Just one thing.
Go ahead, Alderman
I'm
Nichols.
just going to add this because the people that I've talked to over the course of the last 4 days, it's 50-50 for them. And I know that you really want us to vote on this evening, although I have questions on the next items too and how they relate. I will support this evening simply to get this out of committee while using the next 2 weeks to work with staff to get answers to my questions.
Anything further? Seeing none, let's take a roll call. Yes, you want to proceed with the $75 fee, or no, you do not? It's 4-4. So it fails. All right, we'll move on to the next item. Sorry. The next item is item 6, ordinance 01024. This ordinance is related to that. Seeing that we didn't pass the original, do we move forward on any of these other ones? What am I looking at? Oh, I meant 5, yeah. I'm asking the city attorney.
Council can choose to act or not act and may choose to adjourn.
Okay.
It's entirely up to
Well,
this
in my
committee.
opinion, there's no further business. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. 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 Oppose? We are adjourned.